Welcome to In Focus with Eden Lane.
Tonight we look back at 2013 with a survey of highlights from In Focus. The Arvada Center began the year with a brand new executive director, Philip Sneed, and a major art exhibit from across Colorado. The Arvada Center just launched another major exhibit. This time I'm meeting Colin to talk about the art of the state. We're in the upper gallery and I see that you have this great graphic and it's also mimicked on your t-shirt and there's a great story behind that. Tell me about that.
Well, this is one of our partnerships with Warren Tech High Schools, which is based in Jefferson County. And we work with the graphic design instructors, Scott Odendahl and Pete Kunis, to basically it's a little mini competition where their graphic design students or advanced students propose different murals, graphics for the exhibition. And the winner of this is Nick Vella, a 17-year-old. During the exhibition, the opening, we sold t-shirts and bumper stickers. And
you even had a chance to recognize him on opening night.
Yeah, actually the Arts Council gave a honorable mention to a few artists and they actually chose Nick.
Oh.
Even though he's not an artist in the exhibition, they saw that how great his art was, and they gave him a nice little honorable mention award.
Colin invited us to sit down in the theater gallery. It also happens to occur when you've redone the main gallery space.
Oh yeah, so it was kind of this like grand opening, and we redid the flooring in the main floor gallery.
It looks beautiful, but why?
Why? Okay. We've had that carpet in that space since 1992, and the facility manager came and says, time to replace the carpet. I was like, we should rip it out. And there are many reasons for that. Actually, aesthetically as a gallery, it really helps display the work. And actually, as a gallery, a lot of times
How does it help display the work? What impact does that have?
It's more neutral. It just kind of focuses more on the art rather than the space that you're in. Plus, it just makes the space a little more contemporary. You know, here at the Arvada Center, we always try to just keep up to date, and it really helped just focus your attention to the art rather than the space. But as you know, when you walk in a gallery, the space sometimes really enhances the art, so they kind of speak to each other really well. And also, a lot of times with artists, they want to do installations, bring in sand or dirt or some sort of crazy medium. And this, we can now do that rather than saying, I'm sorry, we have carpet.
It seems like the show is sort of one show wandering this time.
Well, and that was the goal. This is the first time that we've used all three spaces as one exhibition. A lot of times we have themes that each are related, but they're still separate.
Like faces, spaces, and places.
Exactly. That was a fun show. I thought that was a big show, and then we did this. So. But no, here in the theater gallery, for example, we chose more intimate work, more traditional and representational. And then as you move into the upper, it becomes more stylized, larger. And then if you move in the main floor gallery, it's more conceptual and much larger abstract work.
After completing her first year as theater critic in addition to being film critic for the Denver Post, Lisa Kennedy made her first appearance on In Focus.
It's a busy gig, and I keep trying to sort of deepen the way that I do it and sort of understand how to do it and get a rhythm. I mean, it's been a little over a year since I became the theater critic as well.
I was going to say, it's even doubly busy for you now.
It's very busy. It is very busy, and I like it very much. But it's a sort of steep learning curve to sort of have a whole new beat, and one that I think deserves as much intelligence as I can bring to something. I think it's fascinating, and I love the overlap and I love the divergence of the two things. It's been really
So where does it
interesting.
overlap for you?
I think sometimes it overlaps in terms of performance and what's getting sort of articulated. I mean, certainly acting for camera is different than acting in for a live audience, but the risk that people take. I just think it's also the sort of ambitions of the people who are creating is really fascinating. And so there's that overlap, and there's sort of the sense that people really are trying to, I know that we, especially with film, because it's so much easier, right? It's like you can tear down a film very easily and sort of forget that people did so much work to make something that you think is
Because
pretty
they never really
garbagey.
set out to make a bad film
They
or a bad
don't,
piece
no,
of theater.
I really think people don't, and I think it must be so excruciating when you've like done all that. You know, it's so, and film's so collaborative, and just to like sort of no, it's not good. It just must be really hard. And I'm a fairly thin-skinned person, so I think that makes it sort of. It means that I try to be a careful critic.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and try to sort of respect what people were trying to do without giving them too much leeway to do
Right.
something bad, you know.
Well, one thing that we can't miss the chance to discuss with you is that now you're the theater critic as well as the film critic for a major paper in a major market, and you're a woman, and you're a woman of color. There aren't many.
Yeah.
Does that impact you in any way? Do you feel that as a responsibility or an impact on how you approach your work in any way?
You know, probably not as much as I should sometimes. And
Why
I
do you
guess I
say
mean,
you should?
Well, no. I guess I mean that I think sometimes I miss opportunities to actually do the good work of, you know, people giving me an opportunity as an African American woman, as a lesbian, as a woman. It's like all the list, the whole darn, you know, kiss of death list, as my dad said. You know, it's like,
Check 'em all up. Yes, that's
it's like
me.
that's me. You know, I'm just so solidly middle class, upper middle class that's like it's like if I just like worked that, if I'd had your roots, then I would be all that and more, right? But I think sometimes I miss an opportunity to ask something really obvious about otherness because I don't feel it as otherness anymore. And I've been like doing this gig for a really long time, you know.
Isn't that important that you don't feel
I think it's
otherness?
probably great because it makes
Yeah.
it, I think it means that I don't sort of go hat in hand. Not that people do, it's just that I
Right.
think that it's like being anxious about stuff. I think sadly, there's a lot of entitlement built into me by now.
Yeah.
Based on just like sort of, you know, the years that I've spent.
The
I'm
work.
an old lady. It's like, so there's a lot of it that's
work.
just like the work has been there. And I don't think, you know, I want to represent, I want to ask good questions. So, okay, so yes, I think that there's a way, it's less about how I sort of present myself in the world to people as like that thing, so much as it's like I think that I do have a bunch of questions that have been sort of honed and approaches and sort of, you know, sympathies and empathies that probably have been built by being those things over time in different spaces and sort of competing and not competing and collaborating and not collaborating, all that stuff. So I think there's a lot of ways in which I probably do ask, you know, when I see something, I'm thrilled that people loved Beast of the Southern Wild.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thrilled people love Beast of the Southern Wild because it moved me so deeply. It's probably like, you know, it's like a daughter and a father, so it might have moved me that way. It's my mother's from Louisiana, it might have moved me in that way. It moved me just in turn, but guess what? Loads of people were moved by it. So then I know that it isn't just about like sort of me being a woman, me having, you know, like sort of family Southern roots or any of
Right.
that stuff. It's like, it's art. And actually the great thing is African American people don't agree on that movie. It's like my dear friend who's a programmer at Sundance, she felt differently about it than I did, and much more suspicious. And like bell hooks went off on it, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like they're, you know, without seeing it, which wasn't probably the best way to go off on something. But you know,
Yeah.
I know it's like, she knows better than that. But it is an interesting, you know. And so I think that basically, what I like about being that checkoff list
Yeah.
is that I think. It helps you ask a different set of questions sometimes, and that those are very important questions to ask, and that it helps you help other people ask those questions, right? So they don't have to be that thing, but they can sort of hear and sort of know that, you know, I love watching people ask a different set of questions and being like, oh, I think we don't have any people of color in this like issue. And it's like when someone, you know, when a lovely, not lesbian, not black, but someone asks that, I'm like, right on, let someone else do the heavy lifting, right? It's like that's sort of the thing. But I am happy that I feel kind of, I mean, personally, because it's about my parents and stuff like that, I feel privileged to be who I am in a way and sort of see how I ask those questions in the world.
And the fact that you said that you don't feel the weight of that otherness in your regular work is an important message for anyone who'll be looking at you as an example of what they could achieve.
Right. That's, yeah, I hope that's true. I like to think that's true.
Summer 2013 marked our first break in production. The hiatus was a chance to secure new funding, but our final episode was devoted to $650,000 in grants awarded to Colorado arts organizations. And we joined one of the recipients, Wonderbound, at their new home in Denver. Toward moving from being a suburban-based arts organization in Colorado to being right downtown here in the core, in an area that is ramping up arts so quickly. Your neighbors are a testament to that, but you're right in the center of that. What does that mean to you as artists to be in this new environment?
Well, the big thing is just how the community is already engaged. It's been so organic because even though, we had some snow and some cold, but a lot of our rehearsal days we were actually able to open our garage doors and have people stand on the street for hours and watch what we were actually doing anyways, not something that was specifically to engage the public, if you will. No, our normal rehearsal day, Garrett was creating a world premiere ballet, and all of a sudden you've got 20, 30, 40, 50 people standing on the street watching art happen and injecting beauty into their lives, and it wasn't planned. It's just there, and all of a sudden it makes something that a lot of people think is really inaccessible, it puts it right in front of them and enables them to have beauty in their lives.
It quite literally changes the dynamic of the whole company, not just because you've changed the name, but because it can no longer be thought of as this elite art form that's set aside for those who can access it with a certain income level. It becomes part of a vibrant, very diverse, very dynamic environment.
Yeah, absolutely. The classical arts all came out of the people. Dance comes from being a social art form that grew out of folk culture, out of villages, and somewhere along the way, I feel like the classical arts managed to lose track of that a little. And I think we're in a time in our broader human history of kind of realizing that we have to reframe that and re-engage and in a real way, in a genuine way, and make art belong to the people again.
Former Denver Post theater critic and reporter John Moore launched a new black and white photo essay series for his site, culturewest.org. We've been watching on culturewest.org this really great photo essay series you started at the beginning of the year, opening nights.
Right.
How did you come up with that idea?
Well, I'm constantly looking for new ways of covering theater that have never been tried before. And I'd taken some photos in the past year or so that just were very random photos backstage at various shows, and they showed a side of the actors that the audience never gets to see, that moment of quiet reflection or a group in a circle backstage.
Or the red leather, yellow leather, red leather, yellow leather.
Exactly. And I thought that it would be an opportunity to further humanize the actors by showing people one iconic shot from backstage at every show that I go see in 2013. Or at least
so when you started, it was with the idea that this would be a full series.
Right.
Because wasn't RFK the first one in the series?
It was.
That was an iconic image that you were able to capture for that show.
The actor sitting at his mirror contemplating before opening up, yeah.
As you're doing this, of course, they're all getting used to the idea that you're going to be backstage at opening night.
Yes, they are.
That must be kind of difficult, though, to be inobtrusive with so much going on.
Well, when I first started it, I said, I want to be a fly on the wall. I don't want to set anything up. Everything's going to be completely candid. And every response I got was some variation of the fact that you will be the largest fly on the wall since Jeff Goldblum in the movie The Fly.
Because it's you and a camera.
Yeah, they're like, try telling my cast to ignore the fact that John Moore is sitting in their dressing room while they're getting undressed. So at the beginning, people didn't know really what to make of it, but people understand and appreciate the intent, which is to bring awareness to all these shows as they're happening as well. And so people have been incredibly welcoming. And now that I'm rolling out the photos as we go, people can kind of see where I'm going with them. But you're right. Now people see me, and you know, it's sort of like Friday night at a party. People are like posing, and you know, and they're making for great photos. But I want to keep to the concept that these are quiet moments.
So how do you do that? Because it is natural, especially for actors, to want to manage their image in some way, if not right out pose. How do you?
I really, truly just try to be as inobtrusive as possible. And when people first see that I'm in there, of course, they're very friendly. Everybody in this theater community is so welcoming. And so you have this moment where it's you get caught up, and then it's like, okay, you go do your thing. And then you really do try to blend in. And the best pictures, I think, are those when they're not necessarily aware that you're shooting them at that particular moment, and those turn out to be the best pictures, I think.
You mentioned that most of these companies already have a relationship with you for many years because you were the theater reporter and critic for the Denver Post, but now you're getting a kind of access that you wouldn't have had as the critic.
It would have
How's
been
it
inappropriate.
Changing your relationship with the companies and the actors?
Well, it's really funny. And all I had to do was quit to find out how much I was loved. Because I thought I was hated. You know, I mean, it's really funny. There's we've talked about this before. There is a necessary level of antagonism that exists in the relationship between a theater critic and the theater community, and separation. And there absolutely should be. And when I took the job buyout at the Denver Post, if you had talked to me on that day, I would have said, I have a very complicated relationship with the Denver theater community. There are some people who I've established very strong relationships with, and there are other people who are going to be really happy to see me go. And it's funny, once you leave, you know, and the reviews stop.
And this new kind of work starts.
I've felt a whole lot of love in the last year that I never knew existed. You know, it's been really wonderful. And the key is to stay relevant. I mean, I don't know where my next professional chapter of my life is going to take me, but I know that in the meantime, I want to stay relevant. I want to stay creating content.
John began the next chapter of his professional career at the end of the summer, when he joined the Denver Center for the Performing Arts as the first Associate Director of Content Strategy. And before accepting the new position, he founded the Denver Actors Fund, a nonprofit designed to be a modest, immediate source of situational relief when members of the theater community find themselves in sudden medical need. And just this month, they were able to distribute their first check. In 2013, the Denver Center Theater Company produced the world premiere of Sense and Sensibility, the musical. It was selected for production from the previous year's Colorado New Play Summit. And we were able to meet the incredible creative team, led by Tony-nominated director Marcia Milgram Dodge. The material is really lovely and yummy and textured.
Yeah. Yes.
And so was that work you were able to get out of that cast.
Thank you.
And now here we are
And now
for
we
the
got
world
more
premiere.
juicy stuff to share with you.
Yeah.
We finally get it in a really beautiful environment designed by Alan Moyer, and
Well,
the
we've
costumes.
seen little peeks of what you're doing, a big heel and a
Yeah.
frame, and I can't
Yeah,
wait.
I had a few deep desires for the physical environment of the show, and one was that hillside. I said that needs to be there. I mean, Alan and I discussed a lot about how to realize all the different locations in the piece without being literal and without feeling heavy.
And not just because you
And-
can't be literal, but I think it would interfere
I
with
think it is the piece invites a fluidity and a speed at which to get from one place to the other. With Alan and with Emilio Isosa, our costume designer, and with James Ingalls, our lighting designer, we really want to evoke what's essential about each location. And because the material is so rich and the music is so fresh and new, and you don't hear a song and think you heard it before.
Right.
Neil has really is a master at finding the right music for these characters to sing, and coupled with Jeff's really smart adaptation of a somewhat sprawling novel with many more characters than what we are presenting in the musical.
Yeah.
But distilling it down to the key people and allowing us to get inside of them a little bit more.
I see the heart of that story.
I say that Austin would be thrilled to be collaborating with Jeffrey and Neil.
Now a highlight from my conversation with Jeffrey Haddow and Neil Hampton.
Thrill ride for me. It's like, I mean, Jane Austen thrill ride. Can you imagine that? But it is. It's real thrill. Everything.
It's been a gradual process. You know, we get cast, we get to meet the designers, we see the set, see the sketches of the costumes. I mean, Marcia is just this amazing marshaller of people and resources and organizer, and then so that it just kind of gradually sort of built up around us. You know, it used to be Jeff and I in a room writing, and all of a sudden this machine, you know, and here, and just the resources that have been brought to bear, provided for us by the Denver Center Theater Company, have been astounding. You know, we were just talking earlier about the advertisements that are blanketing the Denver metro area, and just everything they've done for us has been first rate, and we feel so welcome here and so supported. You know, the whole team.
I really mean it when I say this is the best thing that ever happened to me in my career. It's great.
Here's a glimpse during final rehearsals of Sense and Sensibility, the musical.
Society, high society, there's so much to aspire to. When you're in society, that's what you do. When you're in society,
Ready the carriages, John. The Dashwoods will be leaving in the morning. That's what you do.
In the spring of 2013, we reached a special milestone, our 150th episode.
Happy 150th to you. Happy 150th to you. Happy 150th episode from Central City Opera. Happy 150th to you. And many more. Happy 150th.
It was also a special year for Central City Opera when they brought their production of Showboat to the Buell Theater. Today we're at the Buell because Central City Opera has come down the hill to bring their production of Showboat to life on the stage at the Buell Theater. We have a chance to meet some of the artists and the directors to find out all about this project and how this special event came together. Here's a moment from my conversation with renowned director Ray Roderick. When you're helping translate this piece for this opera company, what was the biggest surprise? I mean, you're nearing the end of the process and turning it over to them in the audience. What was the biggest surprise so far?
I think the biggest surprise, and I think at this point what I'm most proud of, is how we have all of these wonderful artists, singers. We have an orchestra, a 38-piece orchestra on stage as well.
You have to say that again because I don't think people realize it.
A 38-piece orchestra on stage all night. It's part of the concept of the show. We built them into the set, sort of metaphorically, in our vision. The orchestra, this music that keeps rolling along, is the showboat. It is sort of the river. It just keeps moving. The emotion of the story keeps going forward. So that was our concept, and I think it's working beautifully. And it's thrilling to see, ultimately, over 100 bodies on the stage at once. These 70 singers, artists, from many walks of life, in different worlds, I would say. We have a chorus that we've put together.
With a wide variety of experience.
Correct. We've got, a chorus of 30 that have come together that are local Denver talent to play one part of our story for us. We've melded them with our amazing trained opera voices from Central City, who are the young artists and the apprentices who are, going to be the new stars of opera, bringing together opera stars and Broadway stars, that caliber of talent to play for the principal roles. So it's this wonderful combination of storytellers. Now, to me, it's like an orchestra. Not every voice, every instrument in the orchestra sounds the same.
Right.
You have a bassoon, you have a violin, you have a French horn, you have trumpet cutting through. But together, when they play together, it's a glorious thing. And when you have a group of storytellers of different walks of life, of different voices, as it were, coming together to tell the story, to me, there's a great truth in that. Because that's the way life is. We're not all the same.
Fresh from his directing triumph at the Aurora Fox for The Color Purple, director Donnie Betts brought us a new voice. Writer and performance artist Jeff Campbell in his provocative one-man show. Here's his brief introduction to the piece.
Hi, I'm Jeff Campbell, writer of Who Killed Jigaboo Jones, a one-man mockumentary on the hip-hop industrial complex. Who is Jigaboo Jones? Well, he's the greatest rapper who ever lived, ever. He is an archetype in and of himself. He is the modern minstrel and magic Negro. He does amazing work, but it all seems to benefit everybody except himself. I want folks to think all of these images that we see perpetuated through mass media, these stereotypes, they have an origin. So let's think about what role we play in perpetuating these images that we see.
But it's a mockumentary that takes place now?
Exactly.
So what caused you to look back that far for the context?
Because in my humble opinion, very little has changed from that era in regards to black males. I feel like back then we used to be handed a script by a Hollywood writer and told to put on this blackface and portray this image of quote unquote realistic life in black America. Now we write that script ourselves and we wear the mask or the blackface in regards to we wear the stereotype.
They just accept that as a given without examination of that script.
Absolutely. This is who we are. And I think that was probably the same attitude about blackface at one point, which is crazy. So what I sought to do was to juxtapose the two eras, bring them together in this story to show the parallel between then and now, and that nothing has really changed.
So thank you to all of our guests in 2013. And soon we'll bring you El Corazon de Tango by Parasol Arts, and a special interview with playwright Eve Ensler for a local theater company in Boulder. Here's to Colorado Arts in 2014.
Remember to join us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Snugglebug.